Hello and welcome back. 2025 is swiftly coming to an end, and this was such an interesting year when it came to the challenge that I thought it would be fun to go over some of the best moments and the worst moments from this year, as well as go over some of the biggest news to come from 2025 in terms of both the challenge and MTV. So without further ado, we'll go in chronological order, starting with the majority of the challenge's 40th season, Battle of the Eras, happened in 2024, to where we only had like a month worth of content in 2025, where it was just the final and the reunion. Something that I didn't remember is that the final actually started on New Year's Day. Focusing only on the Battle of the Eras final, I can confidently say that Karma Points is one of the worst twists in all of the challenge's history. I've had a year to marinate on this, and my disdain for the Karma Points have only grown. Why did the production team think that this was a good idea? They gave everyone who lost the game the chance to give points arbitrarily, not knowing how much they could have, and did change the results of the entire game. My guess is that the production crew thought that the players would give points based on moves that were made on this season, and this season alone. The Karma Points counted for 2 checkpoints in the final. Speaking of which, Jordan had one of the most dominant final runs in the history of the show. He got first place in 6 out of 7 checkpoints. And it's a good thing because he ended up winning by only 4 points when Karma Points were added in. Derek Chavez got first place in only 1 checkpoint, but with getting the max amount of Karma Points, which were 8, it made things much closer than it should have been. The Karma Points shook up mainly the women's side. Rachel had been hovering around 3rd place all final, but because her whole team flopped and went home early, she received a lot of high marks, leading her to get the max amount of Karma Points, 8, taking her from 3rd place all the way up to 1st, leapfrogging Michelle and tying with Jenny. Karma Points hindered Michelle and Jenny, who hadn't done as many seasons, so everyone marked them lower. They were essentially penalized for something out of their control. If Jenny would have come in 2nd place, I think the Karma Points would have been way more controversial. One last thing before moving on is that I've been thinking a lot about this final. And after a year of being able to think about it, the season 40 final is one of the toughest finals in challenge history. But maybe not the #1 hardest, but definitely in the top 5. It was so physically demanding and legitimately a final not everyone could have done. Cara Maria lost the last elimination of the season, and if somehow she would have won against Tori to make the final, I think there's a possibility the crew would have had to help her out, in that maybe she wouldn't have been able to finish the final. Looking back on it, I think it's great that no one tapped out. Everyone who made the final saw it through, and I think that was an inspirational way to start out 2025. The good thing was that we didn't have to wait long after Battle of the Eras ended to get the next challenge season. In all honesty, this felt like the last gasping breath of the Challenge All-Stars. This was the first time that the Challenge All-Stars was shown on MTV rather than being a Paramount Plus exclusive, leading to many people having theories on whether the change in location was to help the MTV network, or for them to gauge the audience interest through cable, as the show may not have been persuading enough people to sign up for the streaming service. Not only was the location of the show changed, but this was the most different cast we've gotten in all of the All-Stars series. The Challenge All-Stars started off as We Want OGs, where Real World, Road Rules, and Fresh Meat players, the ones who helped build the show in the early years, could come in to compete. But Rivals was different, as the cast was made up of Big Brother players, 12 Dates of Christmas, X on the Beach, meaning the newer players who were just recently on the show were now coming onto All-Stars. I saw online that some of the audience was deeming this All-Stars season as flagship light, given some of the pairs. Speaking of the pairs, the challenge took a final reckoning approach with couples varying between women-women, men-women, and men-men. There were only 2 men-men pairs, and a good portion of the audience picked one of these 2 teams to win, which would turn out to be correct with Adam and Steve winning. But it's not just that they won, it's how they won. Adam and Steve had one of the best seasons in challenge history, having them win 9 total competitions between daily challenges, eliminations, and the final. One of their biggest wins they had on the season, I would say, was in the elimination over a barrel against Devin and Leroy. In that elimination, they showed their physicality and puzzle solving skills against one of their biggest competitions. I would say the second biggest win was them winning the final elimination Star Bluff against Nani and Turbo. Nani and Turbo would have been a big contender if they would have made the final. Taking out another champion and a multi-time finalist while also punching your ticket to the final was so impactful to Adam and Steve getting the win. There were some major disappointments over the course of All-Stars Rivals. And what I mean by that is that they were disappointments to me personally, and some of the pairs I'm about to mention I thought could do really well, not only go deep into the game, but make the final and had a chance of winning, but alas, they crashed and burned before they could even make the final. Like Amber and Fessel, one of the strongest duos in the game, lost to Nani and Turbo in episode 7. What about Devin and Leroy, who lost to Adam and Steve in episode 5. I just mentioned Nani and Turbo losing in the final elimination to Adam and Steve. Once Nani and Leroy were eliminated, I questioned if they could ever win the challenge. I'm at the point where I'm going to say no. Because on All-Stars Rivals, they had good partners. This was a great format for them. They had one of the strongest opportunities to not only make the final, but get that elusive challenge title that they've been wanting for years and years and years. Yet here we are talking about them losing yet another season. At this point in their challenge careers, I don't know what else they could do, what format would be the best for them, what partners that they could have for them to finally get that win. I just don't know if it's ever going to happen. In All-Stars Rivals, we got to see Frank, Sam, and Ashley K all return for a mini San Diego reunion. Sorry, Zach. I can confidently say that Frank has the challenge flowing through him. It seems no matter how long he has been away from the show, that to him the challenge is like riding a bike. After the season wrapped, I thought to myself, I'd love to see what Frank can do on a solo season. And hopefully we'll get that chance at some point in the future. The final standings had Adam and Steve coming in first place and splitting the money. Adam would then propose to Avery, which she said yes. Davon and Shane came in second place. Frank and Sam got third place. And Melissa and Nicole got fourth place. We just had an awards show called The Golden Calories over on my Patreon at patreon.com/angelcakevids, in which Anissa and Ashley won the award for the worst elimination performance for how Ashley didn't want to wear goggles in the downpour elimination. She got sprayed in the face so badly. So I classify that as one of the worst moments in the Challenge All-Stars Rivals. There was speculation that All-Stars Rivals could be it for the All-Stars spinoff, especially when Mark Long was tweeting out for people to tune in. He was also reaching out to OGs who might be interested in coming back. He also made it a point on social media to tell people that there's a difference between shows being canceled and not being greenlit yet. I guess there's a difference there, but there's a main similarity I want to point out, is that in both, the show's not being made. Pink Rose in the summer did put out a couple of updates about All-Stars 6 that looked promising. There was a couple of messages talking about that filming would start in September in 2025, and then about a week later, it was pushed back to start filming in February/March of 2026. But now we recently got news that the Challenge 42 is set to start filming in late February. So unless they are filming both seasons simultaneously, I suspect All-Stars 6 will also be pushed back again. Another reason why All-Stars 6 was pushed back initially in June could have been because of some major news shaking up Paramount. In July of 2025, Paramount and Skydance merged in a deal valued at $8 billion. This major corporate change made a lot of people question what this could mean to the different Paramount networks and shows. In September, we got the announcement that Catfish, the TV show, was canceled. Then in October, Ridiculousness was canceled. Also in October, it was announced by the company that Paramount Global will close certain MTV music channels by the end of the year, mainly in the UK, Ireland, France, Poland, Australia, Brazil, with others being announced at a later time. It was all quiet on the challenge front, but luckily it has been mentioned that availability calls have gone out with the intention of season 42 to start filming in late February of 2026. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to first finish up the final challenge season that played out in 2025. And of course, I'm talking about After one of the longest breaks we've had for the challenge, lasting nearly 2.5 months, the Challenge 41 Vets and New Threats was released. It was yet another half-rookie cast made up of a variety of shows like Survivor, Big Brother, Love Island, Married at First Sight, Netflix's Cheer, WWE, so on and so forth. What could have been a Double Agents or the Challenge 37 2.0 turned into one of the best rookie classes ever. Luckily, the rookies came to play because it didn't seem like the vets did. Mainly talking about the men. Taking a look at the final tally for the performance points, 6 of the top 10 were rookies. 16 players scored 15 points or below, 9 of which were vets. This was one of the first seasons we saw some of these legends look pedestrian. Rogan, a challenge champion who hasn't been back on the show since season 35, makes his valiant return, all for him to flop and be eliminated pathetically in episode 1. Bananas had a rare moment of losing a daily challenge to be sent directly into elimination and be eliminated early. Derek Chavez had his final streak ended after a few missteps in the game. CT came in mentally and physically unprepared. I mean, him trying to climb that ladder was shocking and tough to watch. Him unable to do the trivia challenge because he was nervous doomed him to elimination. And he lost a carnival game. Derek K is an elimination beast, yet he was taken out by a pillow fight. And Leroy did Leroy things, losing eventually in the game. Kara surprisingly left early due to a family emergency, but even before she left, in 4 episodes, she wasn't able to score any performance points. John A came in as her replacement to inherit that goose egg. I would say that John A may have had the worst year out of all of the challengers. I mean, she was paired up with Beth in All Stars Rivals, and then she had to be paired up with Gabe. I mean, she was put through the ringer. I don't know who she pissed off on the challenge crew, but yikes. Ashley looked off her game and more frantic than ever. Anissa was eliminated, but that was par for the course. Aviv and Nani were unable to win eliminations when it mattered most. Both played fantastic games until they got the boot. I say all of that to shout out how good the rookies played. I mean, they did their homework. Most watched past seasons after they received a call. They scouted the competitions, dailies, eliminations. They came in with a plan. They came in with a strategy. They wanted to impact the game rather than try to attach themselves to a vet's coattails in hopes that they could possibly make the final. Now, some of the worst moments that happened on the Challenge 41, I'm going to say it right off the bat. The mini final Broken Dreams was awful and pointless due to people cheating. I'm still baffled on how there was not enough cameras. We should have had like 20 cameras lined up, seeing everybody from every angle. That way we could have properly punished the people who cheated rather than just say, well, since nobody's saying that they cheated, we're just going to wipe the whole thing away and nobody gets points. That makes no sense. That was just a waste of an episode. Speaking of dreams, the Bad Dreams elimination was bad concept and worse execution, especially from Derek K, who couldn't stay up on the log. It seemed as though if Theo looked at Derek wrong, he would have fell off the log. You had Dee and Adrian unable to knock each other off the log that we had to go into overtime where Derek just leaped off the log. Justice for Lekka was ridiculous. I understand why the other players wanted justice for Lekka, but it lasted for over a month. Yes, it was because CT didn't climb the ladder that Lekka was sent directly to the elimination. But do you know who could have saved herself in the elimination? Was Lekka. If she would have been able to win against Olivia, she would have been able to stay in the game. That's why I like the challenge. You have the opportunity to save yourself if you were wrongly put into elimination either by votes or getting last place. And a final bad moment was Gabe staking a claim. Now, I say bad in the sense that I think it was a bad move, rather than it being bad for entertainment purposes. Hey, I appreciate Gabe taking the chance of trying to better his game, trying to go for a partner that he thinks will help him out or that he will work better with. But really, Gabe and John A were never in a bad position when it came to the vote. They probably would have never been voted in. They probably would have came in last place eventually, which would have sent them into the elimination. So for that reason, it was a bad move by Gabe. But overall, I'm glad somebody staked a claim, as it feels like that twist would have been completely wasted if we didn't get it done twice. Alright, now we can move on to some of the best moments Like Justin starting off the season with a big underdog win against a champ Rogan in the elimination inertia. He was also voted in as a betrayal from Derek C, who said that he would always have Justin's back. Adrian and Theo weren't the best duo and they didn't work always the best with each other, but when it came to eliminations, they always did well. Will did everything over the course of his rookie season. You had him losing it over D and Bananas in episode 2. He was high up on the leaderboard when it came to performance points. And then him and Nani struck up a romance with each other. And then also there was even more arguments leading to Will being sent into the elimination late in the game after Jeremy had staked his claim. Which I want to build off of that, just saying that I'm so happy that we got to see actual drama this season. We got to see so much more than we hadn't seen in the challenges era of being America's fifth sport. I feel like they kind of just pushed that away and then really focused in on Rivals and the Challenge 41 to be a reality TV show again. Because we got to see some arguments this season. We got to see some vintage Nani back on the challenge, which just proves that Casey made her boring. And I kind of already mentioned it, but Jeremy staking a claim on Olivia to save himself and possibly Aviv was fantastic to watch. It was a late game Hail Mary that worked out for Jeremy and really Olivia as well, as they were able to stay out of elimination, make the final, and for the final best moment of the Challenge 41, you had this miraculous comeback of Jeremy and Olivia, losing 3 rounds at the Connect 4, having a 10-minute time penalty, and then making up all of that ground in the final 100 to 200 feet to overtake first place and become challenge champions. Something we have never seen on the challenge in its history, which I think is a fantastic and inspirational way to end 2025. Looking slightly into the future, now that the Challenge 41 has wrapped up, we got good news back in November that the Challenge 42 is expected to start filming in late February of 2026. It will be a shorter filming period. Early word is that the show is trying to create a Battle of the Exes 3, but could pivot to Ride or Dies 2 if some of the exes just don't agree to be on the show together and some people don't have exes to join in. They might just pivot to Ride or Dies 2, which honestly sounds so disappointing, thinking that we could get a Battle of the Exes 3 to just then end up with Friendship 2.0. Many, even some on the cast like Johnny Bananas, feels this could be a make or break season for the challenge. On his podcast, Bananas urged cast members to bring their A game for the Challenge 42 and for the audience members to watch the season as it airs to give the new bosses a reason to keep the show around. At the moment of filming, only 3 rookies from the Challenge 41 are currently being rumored to be on the next season, but it's still early days and we'll hear more in the next coming months when departure dates are going to be inching closer and closer and the holidays are wrapped up. But that's it for the year in review for the challenge and MTV in general. What'd you think about this year when it comes to the challenge? What were some of your favorite moments? Who were some of your favorite cast members that you got to watch play in 2025? And who would you like to see back in 2026? Let me know down in the comment section below. And what were some of the worst moments of 2025 when it came to the challenge or MTV? What were some of the most surprising moments of 2025? For me, it was the cancellation of Ridiculousness and Catfish. I didn't think that that was a possibility, yet it was announced back in September and October. Before we wrap up, I want to say that this was a fun year to cover the challenge. I want to say thank you for watching not only this video, but for any challenge video that you watch over the course of this year. Thank you so much for your support. I have a lot more content that I'll be making for over here on YouTube as well as Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.